a mission to create a better Snow White dress than Disney's version, and I just finished the top. It is covered in lace, has these cute apples on the sleeves, and this is what the back looks like in case you were wondering. And here is a quick sneak peek on the full dress. I'm going to post the full process in a week, and then I will show you more footage of the dress. I'm gonna start by making the pattern for the top. If you have followed my previous videos, you know that I made these out of old books. So I taped a bunch of them together until I had a pattern piece that was big enough. Then I found another book to destroy, and I made a second pattern in a similar size. Then I took a loose fitting t-shirt and I roughly copied the shape onto the paper, and I cut this out and copied it again. Then I took the top of my Cinderella remake and I used this to decide the shape and the length of the top. I wanted it to have a V shape and to show some neckline, but no cleavage. Once I had a shape that I liked, that looked a lot like a bathing suit, I copied it again for the back. I just kept a little piece of the neckline because I wanted the back to come higher than the front. And then I cut my bathing suit into 8 pieces. And now it's time to create the first mock-up for the top. This is the fabric that I'm going to use for that mock-up. I originally bought this because I wanted to make the train of the skirt out of this one, but I decided to change it to the lace that I used because this one would have given it a very Edwardian look, and I wasn't really where I wanted to go for this design. But I'm still going to let this curtain be part of the dress by using it to create the mock-ups for the top. Also, please ignore my pimple. I'm 27 and I still get pimples, you know. It's time for rimples, not pimples. Then I cut 8 pieces out of the curtain and I sewn them together to create my first mock-up. I also added a lot of big eyelets to the back to create an easy closing system. And here is the first and only mock-up. I'm in my dressing room and I know the sound is very bad in here, but it's the only place where I have a big mirror, so we'll have to deal with it. I just love the fit of this mock-up. It's almost perfect. Especially taking into account that I will add boning, or will make it look even more snapped. The only thing that annoys me is this. There's a little bit too much space around my armholes. So I'm going to fold this double and put a pin in it and cut a triangle in the pattern for the final lining piece. Then I separated the pieces of the mock-up. I first used a seam ripper, but then I decided that it would be easier to just rip them apart. Then I used these pieces to make a few corrections to the pattern, and then my pattern was finished. I'm here awkwardly sitting in my bathtub with a bottle of bleach. It's not because I'm trying to cover up a crime. I managed to get to 27 without murdering somebody. I know. Big accomplishment. It's because I want to dye this red fabric blue, but if I dye it blue without bleaching, it will be purple. So I'm going to add the bleach to it, let it sit for 24 hours. That's what I did with the test piece. And then I'm going to dye it blue, so I have a beautiful lacy cover up for the top. The bleaching process worked. This is what the fabric looks like without color compared to the red one. Then I created a dye bed. The color that I used is sapphire blue. I hope that I pronounced that right. Otherwise, let me know in the comments below. I used the same color dye on this velvet fabric. I'm going to use that for the lining, and then I will put the lace on top as a cover. Then I cut the 8 pattern pieces out of the freshly dyed velvet, and I sewn it together the same way as I did with the mock-up. Then it was time to add the boning inside the boning channels that I created while cutting the top. I didn't want to sew them because I was scared that you would see this on the final top, as the only thing that I'm planning to put over the lining is the lace, and that is slightly see-through. So I decided to fix this by using double-sided fusible hemming tape to close the boning channels. Once that was done, I simply slit the boning inside and I closed it. Just whistle while you work. Then I covered the bodice with a lace. I first picked a part of the lacy fabric that I liked on the bodice, and then I pinned it to the bodice and sewn the under edge in place. Then I put the bodice on Brenda, my fitting doll, and I draped the lace around it until I was satisfied with the way it looked. This took around 2 or 3 turns. Then I added 9 eyelets to each side, so 18 eyelets in total. Quick maths! Just whistle while you work. I wanted the bodice to have those typical snow white puffy sleeves, so I taped a bunch of paper together to create a pattern for my puffy sleeves. This was quite simple. I copied the armhole of the bodice and then I drew a rectangle around this. I wanted the sleeves to have something Snow White movie iconic, so I added an apple. I first wanted to print a template, but my printer was being a printer and wouldn't print. There's this joke online that printers are the original Gen Z workers. It's a good one. I'm starting to get it. Then I used the template to cut an apple shape out of my pattern, and then I made my first mock-up. This is what a mock-up looks like. I loved the apple, but the sleeves just weren't puffy enough, so I adjusted the pattern to make the sleeves puffier. Then I made another mock-up out of a similar lacy fabric. I very carefully cut the mock-up out and even more carefully cut out the apple. I also added another piece of lace to the back to make it more solid and to give it an extra effect. I attached this piece of lace with the same fusible hemming tape as I used for closing the boning channels. Then I cut the leftover white lace away and I finished the sleeve by closing it and gathering it at the top and the bottom. And here is the lacy mock-up. I love this one, it's puffy enough and I love the apple. So it's time for the real deal and to make the actual sleeve. So I repeated this full process on the blue lace. The only difference is that this time I used a little blue pen to color the edge of the white lace. So you wouldn't see it shine through, you would only see the white that forms the apple, if that makes any sense. And then I finished up the sleeve in the same way. And as a final step, I attached it to the bodice, and now it looks like this. But I wanted a golden lining, so I made a golden strap that was a little bit bigger than the circumference of my bicep. I attached that to the sleeve. There's also an elastic inside this, but I don't have footage of that. Just whistle while you work. And then the last item that I made for the dress was that typical white collar. I first made a paper pattern, and then I made an iron construction that resembled this paper pattern. I did this so that the collar would stay up, because if you don't add any craft iron inside, it will just lay down, and it wasn't the look that I was going for. So I made a construction, and I added tape around the construction to protect the fabric. And then I used my paper pattern to make a golden back. I do want the color of my collar to be white, but I'm going to use the same white lacy fabric as I did with the apple in the sleeve, and this is see-through, so I wanted to add something underneath, and I decided to add the gold color, as this will kind of mimic what I did with the skirt. The lace comes from this old lacy t-shirt, so I first cut it into pieces. Then I sewn all of these pieces together until I had 3 times the length of the collar, and then I gathered those and attached them to the collar. This collar has to be removable, otherwise it's not possible to put on the bodice. So I added Velcro tape to the collar and to the edge of the bodice. And here is the footage of the top again. I still love the apple. And here is the back and also my sweet little sneak peek. If you made it all the way into this video, thank you so much for watching. Next week, I want to post a 5-minute overview of the full ball gown, and then I will also add a lot more footage of it. Let me know what you think of the bodice in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!